Heyo, Zempux here. Welcome back. And today's episode is actually a continuation of a previous video where I talked about how I got my first jobs. This one's more fun though, because this is how I talk about I got better jobs since then. Okay, because one thing that really pisses me off about the personal finance, media is that often I hear about people complaining that fresh grads for certain majors don't make enough money to qualify for like the average or median apartment in the city of their choice. Well, that's just silly, okay? Your first job should not qualify you for the average apartment because you're just starting out. You have no experience, right? At my first job, both the blue collar and the first office job, my salary was only $30,000 a year, okay? And I don't think I stayed at either one a year, so I never made 30,000 from either. But my point is, when I made $30,000 a year, my rent was kept extremely low at $400 a month because I had a roommate. We lived in a basement, and my commute was about 1.5 to 2 hours each way. Right, in New York City, where sometimes it snows, so it was a tough time. Right. But all that setup meant to say, like, did I like that situation? Was I happy, living with my friend in a basement? No. So if I didn't like it, then you know what I did? I got better jobs, right? Improve your station, right? Just, if you don't like something, change. And I did, okay? I simply moved company to company to company to company. I think from that point forward, I had 4 or 5 jobs, averaging about maybe a little bit more than a year at each one. You know what that taught me? Interviewing skills, okay? So first of all, when you're looking for a job, the first one, you have no experience, you don't know what employers want. It's really, really tough. But for me, going from my first office job to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one became progressively easier. Because one, you have more experience. You can update your resume. You should always be doing that. You should update your resume once a year, okay? Whether you're looking for a job or not, right? And two, if you're in a big city, you'll get on the radars of some recruiters, right? Because recruiters get paid, more money if you get paid more. They're incentivized to get you better positions, okay? Plus, you are in the controlling seat when someone reaches out to you trying to recruit you away from your current position, right? So I used to go to interviews just as a break to my mundane corporate day, okay? Just take a sick day and go do an interview. You might be like, oh, you have to take a whole day. You don't, but to me, I don't want to be stressed on a day when I'm doing an interview, right? So eventually, I just went on a lot of interviews without me ever really aggressively looking for jobs, right? Like recruiters would tell me about new jobs, and I would just go. And I thought to myself, at the very least, what I'm doing is practicing my interviewing skills, right? Which is true. And you'll notice the difference, of being recruited, rather, you having to actively look yourself, okay? So you build up your experience. And one thing I like about getting better and better jobs is that you build up your experience and you get to choose where you want to go, right? So being interviewed is no longer like, oh, will the employer like me? How well will they like me? Are they going to make me an offer? Honestly, when I used to go to interviews, I'm just like, okay, I don't care if they like me. Do I like them? That's much more important, right? Because that company has lots and lots of employees, right? Unless you're going to work for your friend. Most companies have, tens or hundreds or thousands of employees. But I, as an employee, only has one employer, like usually one, big corporate employer. I'm not talking about your side hustles, right? So I have to choose very carefully, okay? The employer has to choose somewhat carefully because, if they hire you and it doesn't work out, they could just let you go. But if I choose incorrectly, that's a much bigger deal, right? Trying to find another job because then you're in a position without as much power. So what I'm trying to say is, I've known my former coworkers and some of my former troops who really don't like interviewing, who don't like, or just are poor at interviewing, right? None of us are good at interviewing when you haven't done it much, right? Like I was terrible at interviewing, okay, when I first started. I think I got really good at it because I kept just going to interviews as a source of kind of expanding my horizons, and eventually I just found it kind of fun, right? It didn't even matter if I was interviewing for a company that I really cared about, okay? It's fine. You can go and learn about, how people structure their organizations, learn about what they're doing with their organizations. It's a good learning experience if you're relatively new to the workforce. So I'd always say take the interview. Even if you're like, I'm never going to go, it's okay. You could use that as, like, if you get an offer. So first of all, interview doesn't mean an offer, right? What you're trying to do is get an offer. And once you get an offer, even if it's an offer from a company you don't like, that's fine. You can use it as leverage with your current employer, okay? So I got much better at interviewing, and I got really good because my average length of time was only a little bit more than a year. I got really good at just adjusting to new companies, a new environment. And here's the other thing, right? When you're at a specific job, it's hard to ask for a raise, right? People keep saying things like, oh, you should go ask for a raise to your boss and have them outline, like, what you should be doing. You should take on new responsibilities first. Don't just ask for the money, ask for the responsibilities, and then the money will catch up to it. Okay, this is all assuming your boss is working in good faith, okay? Because in my experience, okay, one of my last jobs in New York was for a pretty, a sizable ad agency under one of the largest corporate umbrellas for ad agencies in the world, okay? Every year, I stayed at that job for 2 years. Every year, I remember, you hear the CEO talk, and he just talks about how great the company is doing, how we're excelling on all these fronts, talks about the clients we gained, okay? All good, awesome. The company party was great. I remember one year they had a raffle, and they gave away, like, a brand new car. It was very exciting, very exciting. All good things, until they come to giving you a raise. Yeah. All of a sudden, your local manager is like, oh, our department, we're not revenue generating. I mean, I worked in operations, so what am I supposed to say to that? We don't generate any revenue. Okay, this is ridiculous. Okay, maybe other departments, felt the love and we just weren't appreciated. But all I knew was CEO says one thing, your boss says another. Okay, I stayed at that job for 2 years because, to be frank, I had a lot of troops. I barely had to do much work. So in terms of work stress, it was a pretty minimal one, right? But in terms of pay, I mean, it was not good, okay? I give you that example because it's hard to ask for a raise, even if you're doing more, right? Because you have no leverage, okay? That's the reality of it, okay? You know what gives you leverage? An external offer. Because several times I've gotten an external offer, and then when I told my boss, they're like, "Oh, we can't lose you. Can we counter offer?" First of all, that's a very dangerous thing to do, because as soon as you've expressed that you wanted to leave, you're one of your foot's out the door. Okay, don't think that your boss won't know that. So don't be tempted to take the counter offer unless it's for substantially more money. Okay, which none of these companies will really offer you, considering that if you're already interviewing, it's because you didn't like how they were treating you to begin with, okay? So this really sums up the middle period of, like, most of my 20s, right? I had 4 or 5 different jobs in the Silicon Alley, New York City area, if you guys are aware of where that is. And to be honest, I think that was my maturing period, right? Like that period taught me a lot, right? Like it taught me that I have value. Okay, that's not something that I could have said when I first got out of college, right? It was a huge change. That 5-6, yeah, I'd say about 5-6 years period. yeah, my mid-20s, right? Because then I can go into an interview with confidence, right? And that is invaluable. Not just for interviews, it also extends to your regular life, okay? You just feel more secure in yourself, and that is an immense, like, I hope, if nothing else, yeah, if I reach some young people who sees this and is like, what the heck is this guy ranting about? What I'm telling you is that your job can help you become a better person. Seriously, beyond money, okay? That's what me, the process of me going through getting multiple other jobs in my mid-20s taught me, okay? You know, stay tuned for the next one in my series, what I'll talk about eventually, like how I actually get rich, right? Because so far, better jobs is simply better than my very first ones, which were total crap. But we haven't gotten to the best part yet, all right? Till next time, watch more of these videos. Later.